Richie, you give advice that meditation should become a daily practice, just the same as brushing your teeth. Why is that?
Meditation is a form of mental exercise that we and many other scientists have now studied. And what we see is that it's good for the mind and good for the brain. If we appreciated more carefully and more systematically how precious the human mind and brain is, we would care for it in the same way that we care for our teeth, by taking some responsibility for it, or for our physical bodies. Most people these days believe that physical exercise is something good for their health, and so they incorporate some physical exercise into their regular weekly routine. And we believe that there will be a time, hopefully not too long from now, when many people will recognize that this form of mental exercise is also really important for the mind and the brain. And the mind and the brain, I think, are the most precious capacities that we have, and the brain is the most precious organ that we have, and we need to care for it in a way that will support the expression of human flourishing. I've had the benefit of being around a number of people whose presence and whose demeanor have really inspired me and impacted me. One of those is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And being close to someone like that and seeing what is possible for a human being to be. And it's so deeply inspiring to see someone like the Dalai Lama, who every moment of the day, in every interaction, just brings out the best in people. He really creates the causes and conditions to enable humans to flourish. And when you see that, and when you see that a human being can do that, there's a great inspiration to engage in the kinds of practices that science teaches us will promote those kinds of qualities. For me, leading a mindful life means really showing up every moment and recognizing that each moment is an opportunity to recognize in ourselves this basic and amazing quality of awareness that every human being has within him or herself, and also that we have an opportunity to nourish the basic goodness that also is at the core of every human being. And mindful living is recognizing that every other human being shares the same wish to be happy and to be free of suffering, and every other human being has this innate basic goodness. No matter how crazy their behavior is, no matter how destructive their behavior might be, no matter how bad politically they might be, at their core, they're the same human being. And they may be confused, they may be deluded, but at their core, they have the same basic humanity. And when we can recognize that, many of the problems I think that we have in the world today will begin to get less solid and be more permeable and eventually begin to subside. In my professional career, I have seen personal transformation impacting the culture in many different ways, ranging from business leaders, some of whom are the CEOs of very large corporations, some of the largest on the planet, who recognize that nurturing the well-being of their employees is a win-win. When employees show up and they're happy, they are content, they are empathic with others, they have a quality of just okayedness, that is something that's good for the workplace, good for the organization, and good for themselves. And this is beginning to happen in some of the very largest corporations in the world. And to me, that's remarkable. It really is the beginning, I think, of an evolutionary change that will really, I think, do some good for the planet and change us in ways that I think all of us recognize will be really helpful. I do believe that we need to begin with ourselves. So much of the problems in the world today have been created by a kind of self-centeredness, greed, and those problems are at the root of so many conflicts that have occurred. The perception of some people as being in-group and other people as being out-group, those are just destructive kinds of attitudes that have wreaked havoc in so many different places. And when we begin to see others as fundamentally the same as ourselves, sharing the same basic characteristics, these divisions begin to be less severe and less problematic. And we can get along with others in ways that might have been unthinkable before. And so I do believe that that social change needs to begin with ourselves. Certainly we're going to have to do many things. It's not going to be a panacea. But I think we need to start with changing ourselves, because once we begin that process, I think the other kinds of changes will follow very organically.
Thank you, Richie. It's very inspiring to hear your words. We are very honored and privileged to have you here at Landguet Ried Center for Mindful Living, which is the seat of the RIPA International Center here in Switzerland. Thank you, and we are looking forward to the conference tomorrow about the science of mindfulness.
Well, I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be here, and even though I've only been at Landguet for a few hours, I can already feel the healing presence of this extraordinary organization and center that you have nurtured, Begoña, and it's really an honor for me to be here and play a little part in helping to support the mission, which I think is so important.